board meeting for East Greenbush Central School District to order. All board members are present this evening, which is great. And we will now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. All right, coming to the conclusion of another school year. A lot of elevation and graduation coming up. So exciting time for everyone. First order of business after the pledge is approval of draft minutes. I have a note that Cheryl, Jen, and Joanne were not there. So any changes, revisions to the minutes? Seeing none, need a motion to approve that. Jesse, need a second. Emily, all those in favor? All those abstaining? Approved. Now moving to the board forum. I will start on my right with Emily.
Okay,
Next,
thank you.
Joanne. Thanks, Joanne. Jesse. Jennifer.
Just thank you to our three board members at their final meeting tonight for everything I've learned from all three of you. So appreciate it.
Thank you. Mark.
Yes. So I've been with Joanne the longest here on the board. She's a couple of term behind me, and there's a really dedicated individual. It is her. I worked with Joanne when she used to come volunteer in the schools when I was the SRO. So she's always had the kids at heart. And Joanne, I thank you for everything you did on the tenure in your board. And you will be missed and be proud of everything that you accomplished.
Thank you.
And Cheryl, for the last couple of years, it's been an honor and a privilege to work with you as well. Again, always had the kids in mind when you made decisions, and you should also be proud of everything that you've done on your tenure of the board, and really wish you well.
Kill me, calm case.
My partner in crime here, Mr. Dunn, I remember the day that he stopped into the East Greenbush Police Station and said, "Hey, I'm retiring." And I've known John for 30-something years. And I said, "Oh, what are you going to do in retirement?" He says, "I'm thinking about the school board. What can you tell me about it?" I said, "Boy, I can tell you a lot."
He lied.
So we had some very nice conversations, and we kept in contact, and the rest is history. And John has been a strong advocate for our district, for his tenure on the board. And like I said, we've known each other for close to 30 years in our careers. And again, he has talked me off the ledge a few times. Duly appreciated. But again, John, thank you for everything you did. And you will definitely be missed. Definitely be missed. And good luck with your fishing and your hiking and
Grandkids.
stuff.
Great.
And shortly I'll be following you. So thank you.
I appreciate the kind words. I won't tell anybody about our Nashville trip. I'm gonna save it, Mike. I'm good.
So I just want to echo these guys. I mean, Joanne, I've known you 15 years now at least with the board at Foundation and then in here, and you guys have been a very big mentor for me, and I truly appreciate that. And I came in here, I had no idea what I was doing, and with all the guidance that you gave me, it was easy. It was easier than I thought it was. I was so scared and nervous, and you kind of made us feel at ease, and I truly appreciate that. Cheryl, I love that you've been sitting next to me for a few years. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. We have sidebars every once in a while and try to conversation and teach off each other. So I truly appreciate that. I wish you guys the best of luck in everything you're doing. Joanne, with your baby, your
Grandbaby.
But yeah, she's just gonna take it. John, with your continuation of your grandbabies, and Cheryl, and what you want to do in the future.
Thanks, Michelle. No, good. Yeah, just to echo the comments, Joanne, we've known the family together for many, many years, even before the board, going to Green Meadow and all those times, and of course, Steve as principal. So thank you for everything you've done for the community. You always have the taxpayer the community, the family at your heart, closest to your heart, and always brought that perspective to the board, and we appreciate it very much. Cheryl, when we needed someone to step up, you did it. And you came and you volunteered to become a board member when no one else would during some hard times. And for that, we'll be forever grateful for you to do that for us as a board and for the community, and all the things you've done over the years in support of this community through your kids and even beyond when they've left to come back and serve on the board. It's a tremendous opportunity for us to get to know you. And thank you so much for doing that. We wish you well. And John, of course, always bringing the perspectives that you do, your wise counsel over the years, your leadership and guidance for everyone here at the board, the steady hand and having conversations and talking about what it means to be a board member and to help guide a community in the best interests of the entire community, the families, the kids, and all that people live here and in the future, always looking at the long term. So thank you very much for your service as well as everyone's service. So much appreciated. We'll have an opportunity to celebrate and talk later. So with that, we do have our public forum next. And I'll read my little blurb. Click on the first one. Residents, students, employees, and business representatives of the East Greenbush Central School District. They address the board on matters concerning programs and or operation of the district other than matters involving personnel. Members of the board do not directly respond to citizens' concerns in the public forum. If a response is appropriate, either the president or superintendent will contact the individual in the future. Those persons wishing to address the board will be recognized by the chair of the meeting and should state for the record their name and address or affiliation with the district or business. While the board does not wish to infringe upon free speech protections, it must be stressed that the visitors forum is not deemed to be an open forum. The board president will conduct the forum for the orderly and efficient operation of board business. In addition, any remarks which be considered defamatory or stigmatizing are prohibited and will be declared out of order. All comments shall be limited to 5 minutes. Does anybody wish to address the board at this time? Yes. Allison wins the draw.
Good evening, everyone. Allison Savoca, President of the East Greenbush Teachers Association. I just wanted to take a few moments to offer some thanks to several groups and also just take note of the fact that the end of the school year is such a huge milestone for our members. You know, it represents 1 year over and we look forward to the fall, except for those retiring. So that's the first group that I wanted to recognize. It's just our members who've received tenure, our members who are retiring. You know, we thank them for all that they've done to commit to the district. I want to thank all of the teachers that received honors of some type this year for their dedication to the district and, you know, all of our EGTA members. There have been some ups and downs this year, as there always are, and our teachers are always professionals and step up to do their work. The second individuals I'd like to thank are the district. So thank you for your flexibility in working with us also through some challenging times, mostly weather related. And we appreciate your flexibility in working with us on that. And lastly, I would like to extend the EGTA's thanks to Mrs. Taylor, Ms. Kennedy, Mr. Dunn for your service and your volunteerism on the board, for all you've done for our students and our members. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Mr. Greeno?
Hi, good evening, everybody. Wayne Grignow, Principal of Jenay Elementary School. I just want to congratulate the district on a wonderful year. We had so many celebrations, and we look forward to more celebrations coming this weekend with the Columbia High School graduation on Saturday. You know, from my perspective, this has been a whirlwind of a year this year. We've seen a lot of great growth with our students, and it couldn't be done without the support of the Board of Education, central office, our teachers, our SRP members, our bus drivers, everybody working together to have a very successful year for the kids. And that's why we're all here. So I just wanted to make note that I think it was a wonderful year, and I really appreciate everyone working together for our students and for our school community. So have a great summer. And to Joanne, John, and Cheryl, thank you for everything that you've always done. John, thank you for all the conversations, and Mrs. Taylor as well. I wish you all the best in whatever your future endeavors you guys have planned for yourself. And hopefully, Mr. Dunn, we will catch fishing up at Brant Lake at some point.
If you're betting, man, you're going to have the money.
Thank you, Mr. Greeno. Anyone else? Oh, I failed to mention too that I had an opportunity to be part of or sit in on the pre-K graduation, which was wonderful. Here in Janae, Mr. Burnham was there, Mr. Burns, the principal from Questar, and the team was a great celebration. Glad to be part of it. If you get a chance, there's one more tomorrow, Green Meadow. That's a Questar program, so get a chance. Stop in. I think it's like 9:30. Awesome time to see them and excitement in the families and the students. So that's what it's all about. All right. So with that, we will go to the superintendent of schools reports and presentations. Mr. Simons.
Yes, I just want to remind the board and the community that we are proceeding with the planning of the capital project that was approved in May. We've been having internal meetings with our architect and our construction managers, we meaning Jennifer Mulligan, Paul Bickle, myself, our architect, architectural firm Labella. Several architects are involved. There's the landscape architect, there's Pasquale, who's the lead architect, as well as others. And Turner Construction has 3 or 4 members of their personnel involved in the planning. We're going to have a steering committee, capital project steering committee meeting Thursday evening this week at 4:45. Mike and Mark and Jesse have volunteered to serve as board representatives. At that meeting, we're going to present a very preliminary draft of the phasing of the project, which would include what we'll be doing in the initial phase, timelines for the architects to get the design done, timelines to get it into SED. I think it's between 26 and 28 weeks now, SED approval time, so it's a pretty significant approval period, and then the bidding timelines going out for the bids, and then the construction. So there's a document we're putting together that we will share with the committee, and then after that committee, there'll probably be some refinement of it, and then we'll report that out at the next board meeting. So looking forward to that meeting, and I appreciate the board members being willing to participate in that.
Any questions from Sharon?
The Academic Intervention Services Program Review, I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Stiles.
Sure, thank you,
who is
Mr. Simons.
An oversight of curriculum and
Sure.
instruction.
So we do have Ms. Driscoll, Mr. Soto, and Ms. Mahar that are going to be presenting the an overview of the AIS program review, and I will turn it over to them.
Sounds great. We just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity for us to showcase our program review. We've worked really hard on this. We have a great group of people helping us out. My name is Nicole Driscoll. This is Jenna DeSoto, and we are the reading department co-chairs. Initially, we were the K through 5, and this past year we took on the 6 through 12 piece. So we've kind of run the full gamut, and we're still learning, but we've really enjoyed it. And this is Lisa Mahar, and she's our MTSS coordinator, and we'll talk about her role in a little bit.
Before we start diving into all of our components in our program review, we just want to go over a few key terms and definitions that we're going to be referring to throughout our program. The first one we wanted to talk about was our universal screening tool, and this is the first step that we use to identify students who are going to be at risk for any learning difficulties. And it's usually conducted 3 times a year, and it's given to all of our students within a grade level. In our next slide, we're going to break down exactly what this looks like in our district. So as you can see, we do follow the recommended 3 times per year. We give ours at the beginning of the year in September, in the middle of the year in January, and then at the end of the year, either at the very end of May or the very beginning of June. And since our last program review, we have adopted a new universal screening tool called Star Renaissance, and it just allows us to be more efficient with our time in conducting assessments. And we use this K through 8. We have been using Star Renaissance at the elementary level for the last 3 years, and we use it during ELA and math. And we've been using it for the last 2 years at the middle school level. With Star Renaissance, we have an initial screener that we utilize whole class, where students are taking it on the computer all at the same time. And then Renaissance also allows us to have several curriculum-based measures that we refer to as CBMs. And typically our AS providers will do this individually with students, and it takes about a minute for each assessment. And this is just an additional measure that we use to further evaluate what students need and the level of support that they may need and if they could benefit from extra AS services or academic intervention support, and exactly at what tier.
So the universal screening is really like our quick capture to kind of see which students will flag. At that point, we then decide if they're going to be serviced. In between our universal screening periods, typically around November and March, we have a progress monitoring time. We call that our AMP week, assessing to monitor progress. During this time, we take any students who are already being serviced for AIS, but also at-risk students, which are typically students that we're worried that are not reaching grade level expectations. We reassess them with the STAR CAT test that Jenna just spoke about. We also do the CBMs, curriculum-based measures. We may also do some other form of assessment if they're getting some sort of intervention. For example, if we're providing the Really Great Reading Program and that has an assessment, we would assess them as well, just to see how they're doing. Typically between these two periods, they've gotten 4 to 6 weeks of instruction, so we can see if the instruction is working or if we need to make any adjustments.
We also wanted to make note that after each universal screening period, we conduct data team meetings that help us further evaluate and take a closer look at our data to see and determine what level of support to provide each of our students, and again, at what level. And Nicole's going to talk about what the different tiers look like.
So at East Greenbush, we have a 3-tiered model that we typically use. In the bottom, we have our tier 1, which is our classroom support. That's where the majority of our students will just receive their primary instruction. At the tier level, you may see some targeted support, some students who might need some extra reading or math support. And then at our tier 3, that's our most intense level of support. This is typically provided by an AS provider or a special education teacher. That might look different. So what this means is the frequency of seeing these students might be a little bit more. We might have a slower pacing for these students. We might have smaller groups. More intense program might be used, which we'll talk about further in our slides.
So some of you may have heard the term science of reading, and this really lays the foundation for the AIS department and really any type of literacy instruction. But really this science of reading, we want everybody to know, just give you a very basic level of understanding. It is not a program. It is actually a large body of research that has been conducted over the course of 50 years. And one of the things that we want to make sure that you understand is that this body of research has really helped to provide us with an understanding about how to best teach reading. And one of the things that I want to celebrate about East Greenbush is that we've been doing a lot of great things already. We've already been following the science. We have to make some shifts. We're doing that. But this science that we're bringing to our work every day is something that we're really happy to be doing. We're excited about doing. But it's really allowed us to understand like the skills that are involved and how they work together. And it also, I wanted everybody to know that this science of reading research that's been occurring, it's been brain research as well. And that's the more recent research. We're not going to get into the brain research because that would be a lot to understand. And if you want to take a course on it, we can do that. But you're indeed training for it. So I want to show you, though, 2 models that might help you understand the science of reading and what it means by what skills are included. So you can take a look at the brain ones. I'm not going to explain those in depth, but I'm going to show you the simple view of reading. The first real model that came out to help you understand what does it mean, what are the components that are needed to help us become skilled readers. So we need decoding and we need oral language comprehension, which is our background knowledge. You notice that that is the product of the 2, not the sum of the 2. Because 1 plus 1, let's take math. 1 plus 0 is 1. But in reality, that's not how we get to a skilled reader. It's the product of. So now go back to the math. 1 times 0. You might be able to be a word caller, but if you don't have some type of background knowledge or you're weak, you're not going to be a skilled reader. take the simple view of reading and expand it to, this is called Scarborough's Rope, reading rope. There's actually one that's coming out now. It's the active view of reading. We didn't get into that for you, but I wanted to show you this one because this is a more detailed version, I believe. Oh, I wanted to go back. Oh, we had on the side. I wanted to show you in more detail. The word recognition isn't just word recognition. What's included is that phonological or phonemic awareness, decoding and sight word recognition. On that end, the decoding. So children need to be able to look at the words and they need to be able to read them. And then while they're working on that and practicing that and working and practicing, they also need to be building their language comprehension. Going back to that simple view of reading, right? These are the detailed components that are included. Background knowledge, vocabulary, language structure, verbal reasoning, literacy knowledge. These two components and all of these substrands are interwoven. As you can see, we get increasingly automatic and fluent with our decoding. We get more strategic with our language comprehension, our knowledge building, our vocabulary, and that's what we get as a skilled reader. So these two models are a big piece of the work that we're doing here in East Greenbush.
So at this time, we're going to go more specifically into our program review, starting with our district-wide accomplishments. And we wanted to highlight how we've purchased and trained K through 12 members on research-based and science of reading backed programs, both tier 2 and tier 3, such as what we call Sunday system, and that's a tier 3 decoding, which is the reading part, and encoding, which is the spelling part program, which is aligned to the science of reading, as well as Heggerty, which is a phonemic awareness program, and that's also utilized at all of our tiers, tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. And as you can see, we've trained and implemented many digital technologies, and one of our biggest accomplishments for sure has been the establishment of Lisa, who is our MTSS coordinator for K through 12. And I didn't know if you wanted to say a couple of specific things that of the many things
Sure.
that you've done.
Oh, thanks. Thank you. Well, so 3 years ago, first of all, I just want to thank the board. Part of the plan was to implement a coordinator, someone that was an instructional coach. And it started out as an RTI coordinator and it moved into a multi-tiered system of support, which really encompasses many things, one including AIS and RTI and many more things under that umbrella, but also the ELA coordinator. And one of the things that I really have had the pleasure of doing in my role is teaming up with the department chairs, the RTI coordinator, working with so many colleagues that are just amazing people, and being on the ground and being a support to them, being a resource for them, exploring programs, providing coaching cycles, just so many things that have really been beneficial to the district. So I just want to say thank you for bringing this role to the district. I felt like I was made for it. So thank you.
And you too. Yeah. So we did want to highlight one of our programs that I just mentioned, which was Sunday. And Sunday is consisting of a primary and an intermediate level that we use K through 12 now. We brought it to the high school this year, which was really wonderful to see. And again, it's a decoding and encoding program, but it's one of our more intense tier 3 intervention programs, like Nicole mentioned when we were talking about the triangle. It's the top of the triangle. And in this program, when we think back to the slide that Lisa was mentioning with the Scarborough's rope, it's the bottom part of the rope, and it focuses on the word recognition part. And we have some more data to show you regarding how wonderful this intervention has been.
So specifically, Jenna been using, and so there's two components when you give a pretest at the beginning of the year. So highlighted in the darker purple is the pretest that several students took for us, and after having the program for one full year, these are second graders. You can see the light pinkish purple post-test that we gave at the end of May and how much they've really grown. And then on the next slide, we have a group of fourth graders who also showed a good amount of growth between the beginning and end of the year based on the reading and spelling of words from this intervention. So we really are proud of it and we really feel good about it.
Now we want to move into our accomplishments at the elementary level. One of the biggest things that we feel really proud of to showcase to you tonight is something that we've been working on for the last couple of years, and something that we in administration have been talking about is being more consistent among the 5 buildings. And something that we now have is we've established a means for collecting and housing our data for the Renaissance Star data for the beginning, middle, and end of the year in our AMP week periods. And I don't know if Lisa can go to the next slide to
Yes,
click into
absolutely.
it. We actually we want to show you what our common elementary data team spreadsheet
Okay.
looks like. So this is filled out without the names, and it's encompassing on the bottom kindergarten through grade 5. And it, as you can see, the colors help us with further analyzing how to best address and meet the needs of our students. And it's something we bring to our data team meetings, and it's just a great way to track students and their progress and identify in our buildings how to help with academic interventions, or if we need further support in the classroom with tier 1 or tier 2. But yeah, so are there any questions with this before we move on from this slide?
So this is the group of students that you identified through the Star Renaissance initially,
We
and then the tier
actually,
levels?
we track every class and every student.
Class, and
every student.
regardless?
But
Okay.
so you'll see in the beginning there, middle there, and end of the year, every student is filled out.
Okay,
And then AMP weeks are just really our at-risk students who maybe are at
Okay.
risk for not achieving grade level expectations, or students that we are servicing. So you'll see that we have not all the class for those
okay.
periods of
Yep,
time.
makes sense. Yep, got it.
This particular is kindergarten, and we track each grade level across. One of the other things about this is that the district has talked about for years, how do we archive? So now we can go back to these from year to year and check and see how a student has progressed through the years.
Oh, good.
A question, like, if extra support was needed, like what was being observed through the data, and I'm wondering just like what is like the steps like post data, like that's taking, once the data is collected.
We are going to talk about data team meetings a
Yes.
little bit in depth.
Okay,
If you want us to do it then, or do you want us to?
I could wait.
Okay, yeah. We will touch on that, promise.
We have a great, what's nice about the data is it's a cyclical cycle, so it never really ends for a student. There's always a review of it, and that's the beautiful thing about a universal screener and doing it 3 times a year is that everyone's getting that universally. So we really are capturing any student at any time, at any given time. So
That's good.
and the ladies will go into that more.
Do you guys track the assessment period too, the kindergarten assessment, and then do you compare it to the beginning of the year or not
Oh,
really?
yeah, if you look on their BOY stands for beginning of the year, and we even have, see how it says case week?
Yep.
Kindergarten doesn't have a previous end of the
Yep.
year, but first grade, we
Okay.
actually track the end of the year. And then but I don't want you to,
No,
we
it's
shouldn't
it's
go-
okay. No, let's just
Yeah.
do it now since we're
Yeah.
here. So for example, in the beginning of the year, say a student is highlighted in red. Well, we come together as a data team. We have many stakeholders there, classroom teachers, principals, speech, social work, whoever is available that may work with that student. And we talk about what is best for this child. Is it going to be moving them into, if they're a previous AI student, maybe they need a further intervention that's a little bit more intense. If they're new to AIS, then we'd probably move them into tier 2. If they're kindergarten, it really depends. Sometimes we just keep a watch on them for a little while. Maybe they've never received any form of preschool. So we have all those discussions. If it's determined that they will be placed into a reading intervention group or a math group, we then decide who the provider will be, what the intervention will be. And then that timeline that you saw earlier, we then take a look at their progress and we will amp them, as we call it, and reassess them to see, is this working? Do we need to go further? Are they good? Can we release them back to the classroom and keep watching them? So it's kind of the process that we go through. Does that help?
And this whole chart that we created
Mhm.
really shows you that we're not just using the universal screener, that it's multiple measures. And that's really something that New York State guidance has required, that we have multiple measures that we look at for a child. It's a data profile, really. It's the whole learner approach. Because if you look, one of the board goals is whole learner focus. We're not just looking at data. We will also, during those data team meetings, have conversations about behavioral incidences or tracking attendance. And so there's a lot of factors that go into this, but this is really just, it's a beautiful thing, this data profile, I call it, the student.
The only thing you guys did a great job. The only thing I wanted to add was that through Renaissance, we can even hone in and look at what targeted intervention or strategies we need to address with the students and know is it a decoding issue? Is it a comprehension deficit? And so it's not like we're just giving the same intervention to all students. And I think that's really unique about our district is that we now have so many great interventions to really target and then see more rapid growth because of that targeted intervention. Anything else you want to add?
No, I think that was great.
Before you jump, Ms. Kamirsky, just to answer your question. So I spoke to Mr. Simons last week, and I do plan on either this summer or early in the fall doing more of a data presentation on our Renaissance results for the school year to really
Okay.
talk about the type of growth that we saw at each grade level and buildings, beginning, mid,
Cool.
and
Thank
end of the year.
Okay, so next we're going to move into our secondary 6 through 8 accomplishments. We really wanted to highlight the fact that Goff Middle School was ranked #1 in the Capital Region as top middle school. Very exciting. And another thing we wanted to highlight was the second bullet, that every 6th grade team now has an informational literacy teacher for the 6th graders.
You're designated reading teachers.
They are designated reading teachers. Is this me? Sorry. Another one of our interventions that we've been utilizing for quite a while, but we have now also moved it into the middle school is our Really Great Reading program. We have showcased a couple of the elementary pictures, just a really amazing intervention with manipulatives. Again, this addresses tiers 1 through 3. And it addresses that lower portion of the rope, the word recognition part that Lisa had spoken about before in the Scarborough's rope.
And again, this program is also aligned and research-based and aligned with the science of reading philosophy.
We've been doing that for several years now, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have secondary 9-12. In the last 5 years, 95% of the AS reading supported students passed that New York State ELA Common Core exam. And we wanted to highlight the programs that they're using at the high school. We have trained Wilson reading teachers. Again, Wilson is aligned to the science of reading. And so is Sunday. We have Sunday System, which is also a program, again, that ladies have been talking about. It's not just used at the elementary level, it can be used K-12. And we have Hegarty, Bridge the Gap, which I brought the book so you can see. Phonemic awareness, that oral work that we do with our students, where we're manipulating sounds, it's all oral work. There's no paper that's needed. And you might be thinking, well, why are we doing that at the high school? Hegarty offers a program, a curriculum called Bridge the Gap, where there's a placement test in here. And if a child has, at the high school, maybe really has poor spelling, you might want to go back to the basics and find out if they're struggling with sounding out. I think of how many times I was a teacher and I said, sound the word out, just sound it out. How do I spell it? Sound it out. I really remember thinking, looking back now and saying, I'm not sure some of my students really knew what that meant. And I always wondered why they would forget the blend, right? We'd be trying to say a word, they'd be trying to spell the word swift and they would forget the W. Because we didn't do explicit phonemic awareness instruction where we said this, see if you can say this, blend this word or say what the word is. Ready? Ch. What's the word, everyone?
Cringe.
Nice. Now we want to blend, let's say we want to segment. Let's say, how about this one? Spend. Can you segment that word into its individual sounds? Spend. Ready? Go ahead and try. Spend. So we have to do it. We can do explicit work. And the nice thing is Bridge the Gap has been our biggest bang for our buck, not just Bridge the Gap, but Hegarty Phonemic Awareness. And I want you to know that even at the high school, our teachers are using it with students.
Lisa, what is the class size at the high school that would be?
This would be a tier 3.
Okay.
Yeah, this would be, I know for a fact that there's a student there's probably a group of 3 up there that might be using it. This would be for students that are the most intense need. There's decoding deficits, there's encoding deficits. So, and this is 6 to 8 weeks. You can, the placement test tells you what lessons to go to, 6 to 8 weeks. You can target that specific skill and you can bridge that gap. It's really, like I said, I can't say enough about, it's not Haggerty per se, but it's explicit systematic phonemic awareness instruction.
And I think the importance of these programs, K-12, is because students are entering their system
Yeah.
at different places,
Absolutely.
funneling from, like I said, the different schools. If they're not with us K-12, there could be kids coming in at different elementary, middle, and then high school. And
And
when
we're
you,
doing
and we
this-
address those needs.
And yeah, and we're doing this now, not Bridge the Gap, but it's Haggerty, it's curriculum. We're doing kindergarten and first grade, it's mandated. But we have a lot of kids that haven't had it. And
Yeah.
so it's so nice to have something that we have it, right? And this is gonna fix the issue, I guess. I can pass this around if everybody wants to take a look at it.
I'm curious to what has been like the experience results so far? Like what has been your personal, like how have you seen, it work?
Haggerty,
Yeah.
phonemic awareness, exponentially amazing. Everyone, it's the one. Like I said, I have never seen something work so quickly and so efficiently with the heavy lift. It's a small lift, 8 to 12 minutes a day. K1. Any other level interventionists, they can do it as their warm up when they come in. They don't have to spend a lot of time. It is the biggest bang for our buck. Like I said, it's the most impactful. What do you, Lee? Have you heard anything about Haggerty?
No, we definitely see a difference, especially at the kindergarten level. I've noticed now that it's been implemented tier 1 in the classroom by the teachers when they come to us, their phonemic awareness is definitely stronger than it has been in previous years, for sure.
And we have data, a little bit of data that we believe has been impacted by this kind of instruction.
And it's really the first step to learning how to then use phonics. So as the provider, when they come from a kindergarten classroom who's been doing it, and then we try to do the phonics part and adding in the letters, that's when we're really seeing success. You said something else that I was going to piggyback on.
Any other questions? So now we wanted to highlight some of the strengths at the elementary level. We, as we've been talking about, have increased our number of intervention programs, and we have multiple measures to identify at-risk students, where in prior, we didn't really have multiple measures. And we've done a lot of initial professional development around the science of reading. In the next slide, we just wanted to showcase a couple more of our interventions and our tools that we use to help support students. One of them is UFly, which stands for University of Florida Literacy Institute. And this is utilized now at all of our tiers. Classroom teachers use it, AIS teachers use it too. And the other one we want to highlight is that we've been getting more decodable readers, which has been really instrumental in the success, especially at the earlier grades. And something else that is not a program but a tool is what we call secret stories. And in the top right picture, you can see the colorful pictures in the back of the kids who are reading. Those are some of our secret stories. And what it is it's again based on the science of reading and how the brain learns, and it really tells stories. So it bypasses any holdups that kids are struggling with to really learn what sounds say. In the fact that it goes to the back of the brain, which processes stories in a relatable to emotions. And so I actually have brought a secret story to share with you today. And when we talk to our kids, we make it very exciting for them. We have that little book, and inside the book are in the middle are like special classified red pages that we say nobody else can know about this. You're the only one that knows the secret story. And so it gets them really excited because obviously, especially at the elementary level, they want to know a secret that nobody else knows. And so again, it's just what letters say when they get together. So, and it makes it relatable. So here's the story of OUS and what they say. And as everyone knows, when three friends get together and play, it's only a matter of time until one of them feels a little left out, and it's poor little O here that you see is in the corner crying because it's always us. So that's what OUS say when they get together is us, like in the word joyous and serious and famous. And this be relating to the feeling And then the story behind it is what makes it really stick. And so then we use this not only for reading, but also it transfers over for writing, and that's more how it's used at the upper grades. And it's posted not only in AIS classrooms and with the special ed teachers and classroom teachers too, so it's utilized at all 3 tiers. And it's really authentic in when utilizing it because these are all posted. And so if someone is spelling at a 5th grade classroom and doesn't know how to spell us, instead of being like, it's, oh, US, go find the picture and like, let's figure out like, what could it be? And, or it's just the curiosity of the kids are like, can you tell me what that secret is? And, you know, it really, they like it.
It's fun.
You didn't realize
Reading
you
is
were
fun.
role playing that.
No,
You
I
did.
Okay, so some other strengths at the 6-8 level. One of my roles was to help roll out the Universal Screener Renaissance. And after the first year at the elementary level, I was asked to bring it up to the middle school level. So they have it now 6 through K. We have a K-8. And the other thing is we have a variety of resources to help perform assessments, benchmarks to deliver instructions. So we're rolling that out up into the middle school as well. And that we have established dedicated AIS math teachers who are serving 6 through 8. And 9-12, we have, the one thing I really like, I wanted to highlight was that first one, is they have an AIS push-in at the freshman year, during the freshman and the sophomore year. So what that means by a push-in is they have an actual dedicated English teacher, and they also have a reading teacher in those AIS type classrooms. So instead of it being a group of just 3, it would be like a whole class. And there's an AIS teacher in there, which I think is excellent. And then I also wanted to highlight the last one. They have an established learning resource center for math support available for students.
Okay, so we are going to move into our areas where we feel we need to grow. So district-wide, this might seem contradictory, but we feel we are limited in our tier 2 and 3 targeted interventions for more of our comprehension, vocabulary, writing, and math. We have a good deal of resources at that lower part of the rope that we spoke about with the word recognition. But we would really like to try to recommend that we look for some interventions that maybe target the vocabulary and the language part and the comprehension. One of our other areas that we would like to work on is the way in which K through 12 is communicating progress to families. Some groups are using PowerSchool, some groups are sending home printed copies. We'd really like that to be more consistent, K through 12. So we actually have already looked into starting, and we're hoping to meet in September to talk about that.
I'm just curious, limited resource, what would an expansion of resources, look like?
So as you've been hearing us say that we have a lot of intervention programs that address the lower part of the rope with the word recognition, the decoding, and vocabulary is becoming really big, and igniting background knowledge to help with comprehension is big. And we're actually in exploration of a vocabulary intervention program called Vocabulary. And so we are going to be kind of looking into that and to see if that's something we could expand a little bit further. So again, this like comprehension program or vocabulary, something that helps build the students' vocabulary.
So you're looking really for more options to provide students with the targeted stuff.
Yes, especially for the upper grades.
Yep.
Yeah, and the writing
Decoding isn't
the writing is a big area.
Sure,
for
of
upper grades,
course.
they feel like
Right.
they would like some.
right. Our intermediate students may have a good deal of decoding proficiency. However, they may not be able to understand what they're reading or apply it, or their vocabulary might be limited. So we'd like to really address that part. The next slide is just a couple quotes. Lisa actually set up a book study for us. It encompassed 3 through 5 classroom teachers and reading teachers. It was called Shifting the Balance. And these were just 2 quotes that we found that really kind of express how we're also feeling about trying to procure some new comprehension and vocab programs. So it just says a substantial body of research shows that strong vocab fuels comprehension and vice versa. Strong comprehension actually helps children acquire more vocabulary, and recent research also shows that vocabulary can account for as much as 80% of student scores on comprehension assessments. So I just thought those two were important.
So this study, we wanted to just, I'm going to quickly go over this. This is a very, very famous in the literacy world, a study that was done. It's called the baseball study, and actually was conducted by middle schoolers, four cohorts. You can see at the bottom, high reading ability, high knowledge, low reading ability, so they can't decode, but they have high knowledge of baseball, high reading ability, low knowledge of baseball, and low reading ability, no knowledge. And what you see here, this study was conducted and it demonstrates the evidence that we need to teach background knowledge. Just take a look at the two graphs, the two bars, and notice the two cohorts and how just marginally different. Notice a low reader has with the knowledge, that if they can have that knowledge, and I think that's what these ladies are talking about, is that vocab and knowledge on topics really do play a big part in reading comprehension. We're not suggesting that you don't need to learn how to read the words on the page, but what it really shows is it highlights that how much background knowledge and vocabulary can really play a role in a student's ability to read.
Now we want to just go over some of the areas that we're looking to improve on at the elementary level. So the first one we wanted to draw attention to was that we have inconsistent services for AS math at each of our 5 elementary buildings. Sometimes the role and responsibility is on the reading specialist to provide intervention, and we have limited resource time and staffing. So we want to examine and analyze our current delivery of instruction to explore how we can best meet the needs of all our students, not only in reading, but math as well, and employ maybe a designated AS math specialist that is well versed in math at each of our 5 elementary buildings in order to provide more consistent delivery of AIS math.
Okay, I'm going to kind of go through this one a little bit quickly. We've actually already started to address the first weakness. We would like to have good communication between the AS providers for the 5th graders moving to 6th grade at Goff. So we actually already had this past year, the 5th grade and 6th grade AS providers met, and they spoke about the different needs that will be coming to the middle school. And we're going to continue that. The one thing that we really would like to continue to work on is once they go to the middle school, due to scheduling, sometimes it's difficult to put children where they need to go to address their deficits. And sometimes some of the decoding kids and the comprehension kids wind up in the same grouping, and it's really not ideal, and it's difficult to service students with those different deficits. On the next slide, one of the things that we've been doing this for years actually, but we've tried to just make it more streamlined and a little bit better. We've identified the decoding students. It's the second column that's highlighted as red as top priority, because those are the kids we're most concerned about. So they would hopefully get grouped together. And then we've shown that there's some comprehension needs, some fluency needs. So these are actually the students who are moving to Goff next year. And the previous intervention that was used just to kind of portray what is coming and hopefully group them accordingly.
And you also see that we did the same thing for math on the bottom too.
So at the secondary level, areas of growth. So in my current role as with the MTSS coordinator at the secondary level, they do not currently have a universal screener. We are anticipating using the 8th grade results and their classroom performance, the whole learner perspective to help with the 9th grade placement, but they have nothing other than that after that. So they really want to start exploring, and I'd like to help support that. That's our recommendation. And then the other one is this idea that right now, when you're in AIS, when you take a course on it, it doesn't earn credits. So again, I'd like to, in my role, to explore with the administration creative possibilities, right? The world is changing, so we can start a conversation and see if we can potentially get some course credit by exploring new ways to do that.
Can I ask,
Yes.
so the screening tool for 9-12 or 9 to 11, the high school kids,
Right.
would that be for new students coming to Columbia that did not go through East Greenbush schools?
No, it would be for the students currently in. So if you're a ninth grade student and you would take some kind of universal screener where to explore it, is it too much to give it to everyone? That's the thing we want to explore. Would we only give it to students that are recommended as potentially at risk, not achieving grade level standards? So we have to, I think, start looking at that. But we'll have a profile, a data profile. That's what's nice about the data
Right,
tables.
that's where I was going is.
We have a
that,
profile,
yeah.
but kids change, right? We know some kids make more growth than others, and that profile really doesn't, the trajectory, yes, typically we say, okay, well, they look like they've been on the path of success, but we want to ensure that, and the only way you can ensure that is by having some kind of universal screener, however that might look, and that's what we'd like to start exploring, to make sure that we're not letting anyone slip through the cracks, even at the high school level.
We do, however, have a spreadsheet that goes from 8th to 9th grade, so they know those incoming students, and the Renaissance data is on that also.
So, you were asking about, are we seeing progress and what does it look like? Well, pictures worth 1,000 words. So we wanted to quickly showcase some of our amazing data. So this is our STAR Early Literacy K-2 from STAR Renaissance from the beginning of the year. We have a 3-year trend now that we've used it from 2021 to 2024. And so in the left far 2 boxes, you can see the beginning of the year screening window, 2021 to 2022 to the spring. And at the bottom, I don't know if you can see it, but the green is if they're at or above benchmark, and then right below that in orange, they're on watch students who we're going to definitely take a close look at during our data team meetings to progress monitor and make sure that they're staying on track and not becoming someone who needs academic intervention support. And then underneath that orange is that salmon color, which are students who performed according to our universal screening and other forms of measurement that they are in need of intervention. And then the red is urgent intervention, which may be a tier 3 or have a targeted intervention with smaller group like Nicole discussed earlier. As you see, the green is getting bigger at the end of the year, which is what we want, and the red is getting smaller. So that is showing success. And you really feel that the shifts that we're making to align our intervention and at not only tier 2 and tier 3, but also tier 1, what we're doing to align with the science of reading, and that philosophy has really made a big impact, and being able to target interventions also really helps close the gap.
Did you have a question?
No, I think, no, it's all, thank you so much.
We
Okay.
love data so much.
No.
Yeah, we love data too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I was wondering if it was like different grade levels, but I think this is the K through 12 grouping.
This is K through 2.
Two, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, yes.
We can actually, and Mr. Stiles and I are gonna be actually doing that. We're gonna try to take it and bring it down to. look
Yeah,
at
that's kind
cohorts.
of what I was mentioning. So they just, kind of highlighting some data, but I'm going to do more of an in-depth kind of data presentation regarding all of our STAR results, Renaissance results.
Awesome. I also noticed that like the data, like that the results is kind of improving. And I was just, I was also wondering about that too, where like you see like it's 48% at the beginning of the year, 52, and then 56, and it's the proportions are shifting too. And I was also just curious about, like that growth, and is that from the program getting used? And but it's definitely interesting information.
Do you have any idea of the pre-K students yet? So are you marking who's pre-K in your
Mr. Stiles
district?
will
So,
probably.
Yeah, so I can talk quickly about pre-K. So this is the first year. We did for our classes within our building, so the Questar classes, we did have them do use the STAR Renaissance data, in pre-K for this year. I believe that Questar is planning on doing that again, next year as part of that. But pre-K as a whole, you don't have to use this screener. There are other screeners to use. So we're slowly trying to see where we can kind of get that data to, I don't want to say track students, but to get that information earlier to start tracking that growth earlier.
I guess that's great. My question was more aligned with, do you, when the kids get to kindergarten,
That's what
do
she just-
you know if they did our pre-K or not? Because
We
I,
will know.
okay.
Because what's nice about this is the pre-K took it at middle of the year and end of the year. And what's nice about Renaissance is once we take the next test next year, the student begins to have a profile and we can see which ones took the test and we know they were in pre-K. And then we can start grabbing reports and see what their progress and their growth is. So we need we need to wait a couple more months for them to take that next test and we can actually see the growth for that cohort. The
And
ones
you're
that are
only,
within district.
you're only doing the ones in district schools, correct? So like next year, the expansion, we won't be touching those, correct?
Not this exact data.
Do we require
think
them
I-
to send us something or do they? to do
There is data
equivalent?
as part of
Okay.
that. Sorry, I think I might have misunderstood your question at the
That's
beginning.
fine.
So up until this year, we didn't have an easy way to be able to pull out who was in our pre-K. Starting this coming year, in our Power School system, we'll be able to pull that information to be able to, just like we can pull, students with disabilities and all that. It'll
Yeah.
be almost a subgroup that we'll be able to pull out as who attended
Perfect.
pre-K. But up until
Perfect.
this coming year, we didn't have that capability.
Thank you.
I just have one
Yeah,
question
about
on the
this.
graph. So at the end, you have the student who is in the red on the bottom. What does that do moving forward, that you've identified that criticalness?
It could depend on whether they're currently in a tier 2 program, they might need to move to a tier 3 more intense program, or maybe just a different program in general. And that's why we have the data team meetings throughout the year to reevaluate students and how to better address what their needs are and their deficits. I know even this year, Nicole and I, during our middle of the year data team meeting, we were utilizing one tier 2 program and we were able to reflect and be like, I don't think they're making the progress and growth that we want them to. Let's switch to a different intervention. And then we started seeing better results with that.
And that's the nice thing about the AMP weeks. We don't wait a whole month. Every 6 to 8 weeks, we're re-looking at a student and saying, oh, they're dipping down or they're plateauing. And we have multiple measures. It's not just this measure. You're looking at the whole K2 cohort, all 5 buildings. We can isolate it right down to the student and say, ooh, this is not working for them. We have other options to look at, target it, focus it, and change up what we're doing. And that's the nice thing about I think this whole process in general and our data team process and looking at the data, it's been pretty remarkable helping us make movement with these students. And that's why you see incredible growth. And Nicole is going to show you how this even same data presented differently.
So, right, this piggybacks off of the bar graph you just saw. So we have our, starting in the fall, we have our first data point and you can see the growth going to spring. Then we have a little bit of summer regression, which we expect. The following fall, then we go up again. We have more summer regression. And then that's our third trend, the fall of 23-24 with growth. But the thing that we really wanted to pinpoint was those first 3 data points in the fall. Each time the students are coming back, their data point is higher. So we're hoping that that just continues to increase. And we think it is because of our programming. These students here didn't experience COVID the way our intermediate grades did. So we can really look at this cohort and say, wow, this is really working.
It's steeper too, because the regression response is quicker.
It is, yeah. So this is our 3 through 5 data. So you see the first 2 bars are fall to spring in 21-22. Similar results as our previous ones. What we want to see is the spring bar graph much more green than we did in the fall, and also much more green as opposed to the other colors.
So one of the things I just wanted to emphasize, you're all probably wondering why a 3-year trend? And typically when you're collecting data and trying to present it to show effectiveness for programs, you want to take a 3-year trend line. You want to come up with data and show what has been the performance over the course of 3 years. Typically, you could say that's valid and reliable data. And that's what this does. It not only offers that, but it provides us with some kind of informed decision-making that we can do for allocating resources and programs. It can also offer for all of you and for us evidence if the resources and programs have been effective, looking at the data, right? And then you can also provide us with insight into where we might need to make shifts in our curriculum and instruction. You're looking at the whole district. This is 1 through 5, all of our elementary buildings. We have a 3-year trend. We anticipate showing you a 3-year trend for middle school next year. When we have that 3-year trend, we wanted to wait another year. But I just wanted you to see, again, for this is math. We administer STAR Math, grades 1 through 5. And I want to show you this bar graph. It's the same graph that is similar in terms of, what the green represents and what the red represents. But I want to really go over, I feel like the line really emphasizes it. If you look at those 3 bottom points, right, that's the beginning of the year. Again, we're noticing that each beginning of the year, their baseline, there's an increase despite the summer dip, right? Same with the end of the year. Look at that. You were noticing a steady increase for the end of the year. So the students, our programs are working, our curriculum is working. We've got great teachers on board. This is good news for us as a district, something to celebrate.
Lisa, I would also say that this data shows the impact of summer regression. And as we think about next summer,
Yeah.
we're going to have some conversations about trying to maintain a summer school program, at least for the kids that need or are at jeopardy of sliding over the summer. So I think this justifies the expense of a summer program of some kind.
Stole my thunder.
And especially the math area is actually much closer than
Yeah.
the last one.
We didn't want to say that. We wanted you to notice that.
And you know what this also highlights is that transition periods and we talked about that a little last night with curriculum graduate is, the 5 to 6 and the 8 to 9. We've done a lot to improve it, but there's still more to go.
There's still,
And those are tough years for those, and this
Yeah.
shows that too. So.
I also wonder too, like, because I heard you talking about like the school community at large, and I know like much we're focusing on how to deploy extra leave. But what I'm wondering is like even thinking about like students who excel in these areas, like are you thinking that there might be potential? Like I'm just wondering the potential where to get over like to take it to the next level, like how extensive could we use this program or like what is the potential like on a school-wide basis?
do you mean like for maybe accelerated students
Yes,
for enrichment?
yes.
So I want to tell you, and just I'm going to say this really fast. Renaissance is putting out a new part homepage, I guess. It's called Renaissance Next. What I love about it, and right now Renaissance does it, but they're going to be more intentional about how they do it. But providing focus skills for not just the students that are at risk, right? Who are struggling, but it's also for who needs to be challenged. So they're going to offer for our teachers, and I'm going to be doing a turnkey training because I do think that we need to work on, enrichment for students or however one would call it, accelerated learning. Everyone could use some kind of accelerated learning at their independent level. So absolutely, yes.
Mr. Tom, I'm just going to kind of jump in there a little bit. I think something too that, we're looking at is our actual model, that we provide in terms of AS and maybe kind of looking at that model within buildings because, buildings are unique and do things a little differently. So maybe there's an opportunity to kind of adjust that model to maybe provide a little bit more of that for our elementary students. And then also this data that, they're highlighting is our Renaissance STAR data. But a lot of the summer work that I'm going to be doing is kind of taking this data and seeing, does that also correlate to other pieces in terms of how students are performing in courses, report card grades, state assessment results, for example, if you go back one slide, Lisa, are we getting, our kids that are in the green, are those our 3s and 4s? Our kids that are in that dark red are those students that are performing at level 1s? Like, how closely is that tied? Because this data is important, but also those other state measures and report card grades, really trying to see, how closely they're all correlated.
Sounds good.
All right, we just have a special thank you to all of the committee members. This really was a group effort, and we wouldn't have done it without all of these people. Helen Squillace's here. She is a big part of she has been a big part of the AIS RTI program for years now. So we're really grateful to her and to all the rest, and to you ladies too.
So that concludes our presentation. We are apologizing that it went a little bit over a lot of time, but we appreciated all of your questions and we hope that we answered all of them. If there are any other questions, we could be sure to answer them now.
I just have a follow-up comment on a couple of things. Thank you. And this was one of the few things that was worth listening to over time.
Thank you.
I really appreciate.
I don't think that came out the right way, Mr. Dunn.
I am a very honest individual. Okay? Some things are painful. I'm just making.
Tell at your
light
last
of that.
board meeting there, mister.
I told you to buck up, didn't I? So here's my takeaway on this. Thank you. It's very obvious that you're passionate. I really like the fact that you are now taking what and implementing and using the data, analyzing it, and predicting and making predictions, and also planning. I love the fact that all students could be plugged into a program to see who is being challenged and who isn't being challenged. I think that is equally important as we go through in the whole student. And I hate to have to, on my last day, correct you, Lisa, because I know you're so good. That book is not the biggest bang for our buck. You are. You have done an amazing job. No, I'm being honest. All right, known you a long time, and you are so dedicated. And we made this a priority, and we brought you on board, and we didn't really give you a lot of rules, and we said, make this happen. This is where we want to be in 3 years, and you have far exceeded my expectation, and you have galvanized the group of teachers and professionals, and it just shows what great staff we have here. But what, like in everything else, staff needs leadership as well. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Drop the mic.
Excellent presentation, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to-
Compliment your professionalism, right? And I know, because I work here during the day, that the level of professionalism that you're demonstrating tonight in this presentation is on par with the level of professionalism that you three and many teachers that are involved in this initiative dedicate every day to the students. This is a really important topic to make sure that we're effectively teaching reading and math. And you guys do this every day in a terrific way. You represent us so well. I'm very, very proud of each of you and the entire
Thank you.
group of teachers that's involved in this initiative, and our principals and everyone else, and Mr. Stiles. It's really great to see the success and the effort and the enthusiasm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
We're glad it wasn't a painful presentation.
I thought it was a great presentation too. I like the bit about the science of reading and how it's so much more than just sounding out a word and all of the components that are necessary for it. I had two quick questions. One, how is this information to our AIS students, whether they're tier 1 or tier 3, relayed to parents? And what supports can we add or give to them at home? And then I would be very interested in bringing summer school back, especially for these kids, because the regression is real.
Well, we do have, it comes actually from Mr. Stiles. We put out, where there's two kinds of letters we actually submit to parents at the beginning of the year. And anytime a student enters or exits, it's part of the New York State guidelines. We have a formal letter that goes home. We also have an informal one that all of the AIS teachers, regardless of the level, will write to a parent. Plus there's conversations, there's calling, there's emails.
And our progress monitoring notices usually specify what we've been doing and what program we've been using.
They do that 3 times a year right with the report card goes out. So, and one of the things that I like is a lot of these AIS teachers, they're working closely with the classroom teacher. So they'll tell the class, they'll actually sit in on parent conferences, and parents have the opportunity to ask questions to them, and they will give them ideas and suggestions on what to do. A lot of the AIS providers send home little booklets or little baggies for things. So depending on the level, mostly elementary, I think once you get to the middle and high school level, I think it gets challenging, because if you add on more homework for their AIS time on top of their core classes, So I don't find there's as much of that going on at the middle and high school, but the elementary teachers are very involved in getting the parents involved as well. And I know you had another question.
I
about
guess
summer
it wasn't
school. I
really a
think
question. It was just
summer
vote of
school.
confidence for summer school next year. Yeah.
One thing I just want to say too is when you start drilling into the data, I want to see what the E&L students look like. I saw the bullet point about Google Translator for
Yes.
E&L students.
Yeah.
So at some point, I'd like to see some follow-up about that. Okay. Thank you.
I just
Good
wanted
job.
to, I just wanted to quickly say too, like thinking about future-driven education too, and I wanted to also like second everyone's consideration, thoughts on the staff here. Like it really is appreciated, and I know that the staff is using their hearts, investing a lot of emotional energy as well as the professional skill. And I know it can be difficult, but I'm really thankful to all of our staff for what they pour into our children. I just want to just comment just briefly about future-driven education, the importance of ELA when thinking about like AI and how the world is changing and reading skills. And I just think that is very timely too, not just thinking about the whole learner, but also how they're going to advance in the future and survive and make lead the world that we're growing into. So I think that is very critical that we equipped as much as possible. That we all could be as strong as the little people in our communities.
Thanks, Jessica. All right, great job.
Thank you guys.
Okay, great presentation. And moving on to our next items, discussion items, 2024-2025 revised school calendar. Any questions or comments about that? And the holiday?
I asked the calendar committee to meet to review whether or not there was an option to provide a day for students to observe the holiday Eid al-Fitr. And calendar committee reviewed that. Some other districts that are in the suburban council were trying to figure out how to provide that day for observance. And I thank the calendar committee. They moved the superintendent's conference day to March 31st, which is one of the days of observance, and shifted it to April 11th. So that's consistent with what some other districts are doing.
Other way around. We should there from April 11th
Okay,
to March 31st.
April 11th to March 31st.
It's great.
Excellent.
Could that be approved on consent if everyone's okay with that?
What was
The revised school
Did we not put it
calendar.
on the consent
Oh, it's a
agenda?
discussion item.
Oh, I thought we put it on the, yeah, that would be, if everybody's comfortable with
That's
that.
okay.
Everybody comfortable with the calendar? Need
Oh,
a
yeah.
motion to approve the calendar? Somebody right now? Let's do it right now. Motion to approve the calendar, somebody?
Is that the only,
That's it.
is that
That's the only
That's the only
change.
change.
Okay, Jesse, second. Jennifer, all in favor? Approved. There you go, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I
Marissa.
appreciate you doing
No
that.
problem.
So we can print those calendars.
Go forth. Very good. Summer education, driver education program. We have a proposal and
So we had a driver's education program for the last several years. We even ran a modified version of it during COVID.
COVID, yeah.
We now have it back to operating normally with the classroom portion and the driver's driving portion. Mr. Tooker is here. He's certified to teach both the classroom portion and the driving portion. We did have an unfortunate accident in the spring session. It was not our fault. It was the fault of our student driver or our instructor. That was handled in a way that was addressed the student's needs. Mr. Tooker, at my request, took a look at outlining some emergency procedures for if there was an accident in the future, adjusted some of the locations in which the cars would be driving because there were some cell phone coverage issues. So we've adjusted that to be within 10 miles of the district. We provided the board an update on the lessons that are required by New York State and the different areas of driving that will occur. Summer is a great time for kids to take driver's ed. I recently saw a report on Spectrum indicating that fewer districts are able to offer driver's ed because they don't have the certified teachers. It's a great opportunity for kids to be able to not only get their license quicker, it's also an important safety program that we offer. It comes at the expense of the parents. The parents pay for it, and then the cost of it, it comes out of what the parents are paying. So Jeff, I don't know if you have anything to add, but Jeff would like to get this approved so that we can start July 1st to meet the number of different weeks of instructional lessons that are required.
Any questions for,
And we
Jeff
did
or
replace
Jeff?
The car. There's a, later on the agenda, there's a resolution to accept the insurance payment for the car.
I just want to note that I appreciate you taking this on. I know many, as Mr. Simon said, many of them do not even have these anymore. So for you to take on this additional work, we really appreciate it. The students appreciate it. The parents really appreciate it. And we appreciate you with all the hard work that you put in.
thanks, Jeff. All right. Any other questions? Yes, Joanne?
I just
No,
want to say
it's in the
that
agenda later.
I see this as an extension of everything else that you do for the safety of our kids, Mr. Tucker. Everything, every chance you get to keep our kids safe, you're there. And me personally, me as a board member, appreciates everything you do.
Anyone else? Questions, comments about the summer driver's ed program, which is later on the agenda to approve? All right, great. Thank you, everyone. We'll move on now to our regular business items. First one is the approval of programs for resident children with disabilities. Any questions or comments? No? Need a motion to approve? Jesse, second. Jennifer, all those in favor? Approved. We next have the resolution to approve an employment agreement with Mr. Simons through 2027 June. Questions or comments? No? Need a motion to approve that? Mr. Dunn, second. Mark, all those in favor? Approved.
I appreciate the board's continued support. I look forward to continuing to lead with the board to continue to make our district the best that it can be. And I thank you for the support of the new contract. Thank you so much.
And we appreciate your
I'm very
dedication.
proud to be the superintendent here.
Great job.
Thank you.
Great job. Next is the resolution to establish the date of the annual organization meeting. We did make an adjustment to have it, the memo, July 8th, and the time 6 o'clock. Right, Jeannie? All right, July 8th. Any issues with that? Mark, quizzical conflict? Perhaps? Because it's one of the latest ones, because we had some other conflicts.
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday, yes.
You want me to sit in for you?
I think we'll have a quorum because I know the new board members were polled
Yes.
as well, so they'll be able to make it. So we should have a quorum.
And it'll be followed by the July board meeting.
We're only going to have, we will have the organizational meeting,
Then
and then we'll have a regular agenda that night.
that same night, yeah.
That's what it's.
Okay. But we still want to move forward with the July date though, okay? Okay. So the motion for that, Jennifer, second, Jesse, all those in favor? And Mark's gonna check. Okay. So this was one that I did not realize we did not do a motion for. Is this the right, Jeannie? This was the one I.
Yeah.
Little mistake on. So we need to have a motion first before we go to roll call vote, correct? Need a motion to approve the capital project bond resolution, which we did vote on. Michelle, second, anyone? Joanne? Roll call vote. You got it, Jeannie? That's okay. Cheryl? Gotta be, yes. Okay.
Yes.
John, yes.
Yes.
Yes. Jennifer, yes.
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Joanne, and
Yes.
Emily. You got it right this time?
I got
Good.
it.
The lawyers will be happy.
Thank you for.
All right.
Thank you for the redo.
Thank you for the reading. Sorry about the mix-up. My mistake. We do have the agreement with the EJA, which was settled. Thank you. Administrators, any questions or comments on the agreement? Seeing none, need a motion to approve that. John, second. Jesse, all those in favor? Approved. Now we have the. Oh, you
I
want
just wanted to
comments?
thank the
Yes.
members of the EGA negotiating team, and two of them are here. Dan Garab and Helen Spilacci, along with Jack Albee, who wasn't able to be here, and Ed Kilmartin and Patty Finan.
Mhm.
We worked very productively together with Roy, myself, Jen, and Marissa, and it was a pretty successful negotiation.
Great.
District was able to work through any concerns we had, and you were able to work through any needs that you had, and I think it was a good agreement overall for everybody. So thank you for the productive negotiations.
On behalf of the association, we'd like to thank the superintendent and his members of his team. It really was a productive process, and we moved through it pretty quickly. And we appreciate the support of the board and looking forward to next year and
Great.
serving our kiddos.
Nice,
Thank you.
nice. Excellent. The next item is what we just talked about, the Drive Red program for the summer. Questions or comments? Need a motion to approve that. Mark, second. Michelle, all those in favor? Approved. And then this has to do with the vehicle claim and then the appropriation, increase the budget for the vehicle. Questions or comments? No? Need a motion to approve that. Jennifer, second. Jesse, all those in favor? Approved. Now we can get the vehicle, or we have the vehicle?
We have the vehicle.
Okay. We have a bid, rubbish removal, recycled cardboard, and commingles. Questions or comments?
I just want
Yes.
to highlight that I feel like essentially we only had one bid. And I would like to try to figure out a way to get more, folks interested in this next year. I always feel like it's never good when we essentially have one person at the table. And for this type of service, I know that there's a lot of different providers. So not sure why folks wouldn't be interested. I think that I'm not sure. So if we could look into this next year, I think it would only benefit the district and having more people at the table bidding on it.
I do know in prior years, we've had a couple more bids and we even had a FOIL request from another provider. So I know they're looking at it. I don't know why they didn't bid this year, so.
Well, we do send that out to several, like
Mhm.
goes out to a number of people,
It's
right?
advertised as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, see if we can drum up some other bids maybe.
Weird.
Yeah. It's good business. All right, do we need a motion to approve the bid? Anybody? Jesse, Joanne, second. All those in favor? Approved. And we have elevator maintenance bid. Got a couple there.
I
Pretty
just
close.
I want to comment on that too. In the letter, it states that we're going with the lowest bid, but it looks like the company selected is not actually the lowest bid. They're the higher bid by a couple $100. And so there might be other reasons why, but I think that it's misspoke in the letter or it's misstated. So I don't know why it says we went with the lowest bid.
So one of the evaluations on this particular bid is the additional work that happens. So there was an evaluation of the additional hours that are spent for repair work from year to year. So the accumulation of that is what was part of that evaluation.
Is that the graph on the second page, Jen? Is that what's referencing that?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, so while they submitted a low bid,
They
it wasn't
submitted-
accurate.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there was
Okay.
a slight discrepancy by the other bidder, but at the same time, what we look at is the number of hours we spend. So their hourly rate for additional work ended up being lower for the lower bid responder. So that was part of the evaluation. If you look at the base bid for the regular monthly services, they were not the low bid, but there's always additional work that comes into play. So when you accumulate a trend of the typical level of
base
work
plus
we
the
do,
additional.
right, exactly. That was
Gotcha.
part of that evaluation. Obviously, the additional work can vary year to year, but we had to use some sort of metric to be able to evaluate, some trends of additional work that continues.
Got it.
Did I miss who was last year or who does this work now?
McGee is the current provider.
Okay, thank you.
So, are you saying that's like a total cost, like it was like a total cost evaluation?
It's a bid
like
plus.
contract total cost.
Yes, so there's the base level service that occurs on a monthly basis, and then there was an evaluation of the last few years of additional repair work that was needed or service calls, and that was the basis for the evaluation. Obviously, that can fluctuate, but you have to have some sort of measurement for that.
So it's like they were plugged into the prior work that was done, kind of.
Yes, we looked at the work levels over the last few years.
Based on what they said their hourly rate would be.
Right,
that level.
based on the new bid rate.
So it ends up being more.
Overall, yes. Gotcha.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Good questions. Any other questions or comments? Need a motion to approve? Anybody? Michelle, second. Emily, all those in favor? Approved. And then we had the summer curriculum writing proposals. Any questions or comments on those proposals? No? Yes, Jennifer.
Curious, how do they arrive at this number? Do they propose how many hours they think the program will take in terms of writing?
Exactly.
Is there such a
So,
variety?
yeah, so there's a proposal process and the cost for the project is a piece of that. And then we have a committee of 10 members plus myself. We go through each of the proposals. This year, we actually had the project managers come in and do a brief overview of their project in case the committee had any questions. And then, from there, we look to, approve the project. And, sometimes we do make some adjustments to hours to try to be equitable in terms of the level of, the level of the project compared to some, other projects to make sure that we're, if one project is, a full year of algebra, that's getting X number of hours. And then if someone's just kind of doing some updating to curriculum, maybe is not intense, we want to be mindful of that.
Okay. That's contractual committee. Yes.
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Need a motion to approve that. Jesse, need a second. Jennifer, all those in favor? Approved. Moving on to committee reports. Nothing. Jen?
So I think it was just last week, we met for the Finance and Audit Committee. We had our independent external auditor, Bonadio, come and present the plan for the 23-24 financial audit. So that was discussed. Also, we had an update on investments and some treasury service updates. So.
Nice job on the investment earnings.
Yes, just under 1.1
Terrific.
million for this year.
And I had one question. In the slide, Bonadio mentioned something and I didn't quite understand what it meant. New developments, federal stimulus funding will likely impact major program selection is something. What does that mean?
So that would be in reference to
Sorry.
the single audit and the audit over expenditures for federal funds.
Okay.
So basically every year there's an evaluation of what could be a low risk, high risk, and that particular program is targeted. And those risk factors
is.
aren't necessarily
Okay.
unique to the district. They're
Gotcha.
unique to the program. And depending on when the program was audited in the past and the timing, basically
Gotcha.
it cycles through. So
Okay.
in terms of what major program is selected for
Gotcha.
audit.
That's okay. I didn't know what that major program selection.
Major
term
program in
meant.
terms of federal expenditures.
Got it. Okay. Makes sense. All right.
If anybody's interested in sitting on the finance committee as
Yes.
the public, I think we have seats for you.
Yes.
I know it's
Yes.
a very exciting committee, but spread the word out there.
Yes, we do have 3 or 4. Unfortunately, there was a few that were not able to attend this last meeting.
Gotcha.
But yes, we could use some additional participation.
It's very exciting. We keep it very exciting.
Well, we have 3 new board members coming on who I'm sure they're itching to get on that committee. Throw it out there. All right. And next we have Mr. Stiles.
Thank you. So June 5th, we had our last CCS committee meeting for the year. We have 3 additional program reviews that you'll be hearing about in the fall: art, mathematics, and social studies. So I'll spread those out in, hopefully September and October, so you can hear those presentations. And then going into next year, we have 3 programs that are being reviewed. We have health, physical education, and then a new one will be school counseling. That will be new for us this year or for next year. And then again, just went over our membership for next year. Looked at our summer curriculum writing proposals, and then I gave an update on some of the portrait of a graduate work that's going on. And again, more to come with that. Some exciting work.
Great. Questions for Roy?
And I just want to kudos to you guys as well for the portrait of the graduate. It was an excellent series, and I felt honored to be able to be part of it and interact with students and teachers and community members. So very excited for this opportunity to see the results.
And,
I don't have any committee reports.
all right. That concludes our committee reports. Tabled motions, I don't have anything. All business, board members, I had nothing. Moving on to the consent agenda. Questions, comments, changes, consent agenda. We do also have, I'm going to wrap this into the addendum, that's 13A for consent. That was a late addition to appoint a new insurance tech. So we'll wrap that in there if that's okay. All right. All right. Seeing no questions or comments, need a motion to approve by consent those items. Jesse, need a second. Michelle, all those in favor? Approved. Excellent. Commendation for distinguished board service, Mr. Simons.
Okay. So we wanted to thank and take an opportunity, Mr. Buono and I are going to do this together.
Sure.
Okay? Our board members who are leaving us. And for me, it's pretty special occasion because some of the board members that are leaving us, two of them, Joanne and John, were on the board that selected me, along with Mike and Mark. So my history is about 8 years, almost 8 years, but a little bit more than that because I remember on a freezing rain day where the weather was horrible, I first met Joanne and John at an undisclosed location for my first interview. And I have to tell you, and I've never talked about this very much, but because of the board's seriousness about its school district, and because of the nature of the questions that were asked, which were tough questions, and challenging questions, and the authenticity of the board members, I walked out of there, and my wife had been waiting for me in the car. And I said to her, Pam, I really like these people. I need to work here. And that's a true story. So and then I got invited back for another round. So I'll start with Joanne. Long before Jeff Simons arrived in East Greenbush, Joanne had been serving the school community as a parent, as a community member, as a friend, as a supporter of charity works within the community, significant charity works within the community, and then as a board member. And what I have appreciated about Joanne is what I would say is a very strong balance of reasonableness and passion and compassion for people. Looking, as Mike had said earlier, looking at all of the needs of students first, the staff, and the community, including the taxpayers, and trying to balance all of that in a way that is considerate of everything. And that's what a good board member does, Joanne, and I appreciate that you have been an excellent board member over the years, and principled in your values and in your decisions and in your recommendations and the issues that you've prioritized. And I hold you in the highest regard. And as we've talked, I will find other ways for you to continue to be involved in the school district because I so appreciate the impact that you have. And I'll just give a couple of examples. During COVID-19, when we were worried about the academic needs of the students, it was Joanne Taylor that stopped and said, what about the families? There's some people out of work in our community who could really use some support and help. And it was Joanne Taylor that advocated for strengthening and adding to our backpack program and really having a community-based food for families program. We were operating basically a pantry out of the high school during COVID with Mr. Leonard's assistance and Audrey DeBacco's assistance, but it was Joanne's compassion for people and sensitivity to people that led that effort, among many other things that you've done over the years. So we have a formal commendation for Joanne. I'll make sure
I got the right one.
and a certificate of appreciation and a small gift. Congratulations to Joanne Taylor.
You're not speechless, are you? Thank you for everything, Joanne.
So John Dunn. John has become, for me, nobody knows this either. John started during COVID-19 when we were shut down, calling me on a weekly basis. And just kind of to see how I was doing with everything that was going on and lending me his perspective on operating the school district during the pandemic, what was going on around us, and some of the challenges. And I started to refer to it as my therapy session. And John always tells me he's working for me out there. But these conversations continued when, and John has become, for me as the superintendent, a friend, a confidant, someone that I can have an honest, heart-to-heart discussion with, and who always gives me very, very sound advice. John has also, and his work on the board, been very skilled in his leadership in terms of looking at not only everything that's going on and trying to make a good decision, but also being very straight and forward thinking in terms of the investments that we're making with students and holding all of us accountable, and including himself for delivering results. So I have appreciated John's counsel. I will hopefully continue to have that, even though he's not on the board.
Probably won't have cell service.
And I appreciated his friendship. Congratulations to John.
You're in a box, Cheryl.
I first met Cheryl Kennedy, not as a board member, but I remember meeting her at a parent-teacher-student organization meeting at Columbia High School when our children were still in high school. And Cheryl has served on the board for 3 years, and I have always appreciated your practical approach to things, looking at things from an objective perspective, and not only bringing your financial background to decision-making, but your experience as a parent. Appreciated that during our time when we were going out to meetings to market the capital project, you gave of your extra time to be there to support us in that effort. And you showed up in North Greenbush with your husband at the town meeting. You showed up at the forum that we had, and you've done a lot of work within the board quietly to help us to continue to move forward. And Cheryl, I will miss you, and I appreciate all that you've done for the students over the last few years.
All right. Johnny, we're saving something for later. Is that what you're doing? What do you want?
You're ready for me.
Ready.
All right. I just want to thank everyone. First, I want to thank the community for putting its faith in all of us. And I represent everybody here. I mean, 12 years seems like a long time, but it does seem like it went by fast. And what really drove me to board service in this community is the fact that I have 3 wonderful children who are educated here. And I worked a very difficult job and very difficult hours. So this community, the school, helped my wife really provide a lot for my family. And it was that drove me In my career, I saw a lot of dark things in a lot of dark places. And it was always a driver to give children an opportunity. And of course, my sidekick here, I used to do a lot of work-related activities with him and a few social activities. And he sucked me into the vortex of board work. And quite honestly, I'm very humble that it pushed me to do something that is way out of my wheelhouse. I'm going to tell you right now. And it has been one of the best experiences of my life because I've met some really fantastic people. And starting with Joanne, Mark, and Mike, and the other team members, we've been through a lot in this community to get us where we are today. And I look at where we are today as just the beginning, because we're always going to strive to be better. We're always going to train for weakness. And it's that drive that I hope that the rest of you, I know, will continue. Change is good. Be forward thinking. And for the new board members, when you're on a board, things aren't always as they seem. There's a lot of regulation, a lot of governance that you'll have to weed through. And I'll always be there for anyone who wants to speak in confidence, but I can tell you, as you move through this journey, you don't always represent yourself. You represent the whole. Because quite honestly, if you knew some of the libertarian conservative philosophies I have about self-reliance and self-help, probably wouldn't vote for me. But I'm not here for me. I'm here for the community. And I think that is the greatest strength that this team of people have. And for all of you, I consider you all friends. And I am looking forward to the next phase in life. And Joanne and Cheryl, we will continue to support you guys. We will still rock the vote for the budgets and all the things we can do. And I'm going to be around for a little while. So I'm on special assignment for some folks. And the last secret to the relationship we have with Jeff. His grandmother is a dun.
That's true.
We found this out
Oh, gosh.
as we got to know one another. So I always said that was why I had an affinity to him. But, to all of you, and Jeannie especially, you know, babysitting me regularly when I'm off in the Never Never Land, and she always finds me. So thank you. I really appreciate every one of you for what you're doing and continued success. So again, this has been my privilege to be here with you people. Thank you.
Gotcha. Appreciate it. Wonderful.
Mike, can I piggyback on John for
Sure.
a minute?
Of course.
I have a few notes that I wrote down. First of all, I want to thank the community for their trust in me over the last 15 years. Anybody that has known me, I've lived my life in education, born to an educator, married and offspring of educators. It's been a staple of my life, and it's been an honor to serve in this capacity as a board member, working to ensure the best for the children and the district. When I look back, I tried to think how far the kids are that were here when I first started. They are almost finishing college. When I look at the number of kids that cross the stage, it just amazes me what we've done for these kids over the years. I've learned a lot, like John said. When you sit here, you learn a lot. Sound decisions have been made at this board table, things that we've thought for a long time. The fiscal management of the money, reviewed and scrutinized by this board. New policies, procedures, when things didn't seem right, we asked for a new policy. Safety, as I talked to Mr. Tooker, paramount to the board to make sure children and staff work in a safe environment. I've served on many hiring committees at the administrative level, working hard to make sure that it was fair and equitable, and congratulations to you, Marissa, for what you've done through the years on that. Not every decision has been easy, but it was a decision best for the children. To our central administrative team, Jen, Roy, Roy, Jennifer, Marissa, and Jeff. I'll get them all again. Thank you for your steadfast efforts to make this district what it is. Caring nature and your collegiality hasn't gone unnoticed, and you should be proud of the accomplishments in this district. Mr. Simons, you're to be applauded by your kindness to the board, to the students and the staff. It hasn't gone unnoticed to me. Personally, I'm truly appreciative. I worked with numerous colleagues on the board over the years, and I'm thankful to have been part of such a student-centered board. Fellow board members have been amazing. I'm blessed to have been a part of all of you for the last 15 years. To our new board members, Sam, Catherine, and Kim, I wish you the best as you learn the new role that you will soon take. To our new board members, Jesse, Jen, and Emily, keep asking the questions that you're asking. Be passionate about what you're learning and working for. Your energy is amazing. Keep that up. To our seasoned board members, Mike, Mark, Michelle, John, Cheryl, thank you for your time served, your caring approach, and your friendship. Along with the past board members, and I'd be remiss to name them, Jennifer Massey, Shay Harrison, Kathleen Curtin, Catherine Mashel, and Karen Curran, there will always be a special place in my heart for all of you.
Who are co-defendants.
I truly enjoyed my time at this table, and I walk away knowing that I've completed my tenure to the best of my ability. My focus was on the children and the taxpayers in this community, and in my heart, I know I walk away knowing that I serve the district in a responsible and respectful manner.
Very nice. All right. Anyone else? All right.
So we have a need for an executive session, but we also have cake and cookies. So I think what we'll do is maybe take a break,
Want to take a break?
have
Take
a quick break.
quick sugar break?
Get a treat. Members of the community that are still here, welcome to
Sounds good. Free.
partake, and then we'll maybe get back together in 15 minutes, and I'll call our person
things
that's going
ready.
to join us for the meeting
Yep.
during the.
Because let's do this. New business,
Oh.
nothing, board retreat. I will bring that up next meeting. And then public forum, anybody? No, board forum, we'll hold. And then we'll, all right, let's take a break.
Thanks.
Okay.